Chapter 2, Spike Log, 0 entry. As Pinkie Pie set out all the refreshments, Twilight leaned over towards the data pack. "What's that?" she asked curiously. Spike smiled. "It's a book, basically," he explained. "Except one that can hold an immense amount of information, and made out of metal instead of paper." Twilight's eyes widened. "Fascinating," she whispered, her hooves reaching towards it. Spike chuckled. "I know you want to take it apart and see how it works, but I think the information on it might be of more interest to you." Smiling, he turned it on. The display immediately lit up with words. Entry 00. This isn't the first entry I made for this log of Spike's growth and development. I only added this entry when I realized Spike had a homeworld to go back to, and friends and family awaiting his return. This entry is an introduction, both for Spike and those he will show this to. My name is Samus Aran, intergalactic bounty hunter, troubleshooter, and mother. This last was something I never thought I would ever experience, but my Chozo guardians and family had plans for me. Most of these entries will be combination of text and video files. Spike, you'll know how to access all of these as you go through the entries, so I leave it up to you to determine what, and how, you share with those you know here. But here is the story of how you came to be in my care. During my first mission as a bounty hunter, when I returned to Zebes, the world I grew up on, to do battle with the space pirates, my ship was shot down and I lost access to my power suit, the primary weapon in my arsenal. However, in a Chozo temple, I found another suit, more advanced than my original, waiting for me. The Chozo had read the future, and left gifts for me where they knew I would go. But they'd left something else for me here. Old Bird himself, the Chozo elder who raised and cared for me after I was orphaned, the one who was the closest thing to a father I had after that fateful day, appeared to me in spirit, with a message. I record that message here indelibly. Hatchling, you have come far, and we see that you will go much farther still, but you have turned your back on life to wield death. This is our doing. We foresaw that the universe would need you as its champion, and so forged you to become that champion. For the sake of all, we took that choice from you. We can only beg your forgiveness. This is not our only sin against you. When we gave you life with our blood, we took something precious from you, a joy you will now never know. Another unforgivable sin. And now we ask more of you than we have any right to, we ask another favor of you, and offer a boon in return. The streams of time unraveled, and through the hole this egg came to us, between the lands of spirit and flesh. We ask that you tend to this egg, and the hatchling that will come forth from it. Forgive us, our hatchling. For the sake of the universe, we did great wrong to you in your hour of pain, and presented it to you as a gift. We carry this sin against our own to eternity. I didn't understand what he meant with this message for some time. But I do now. Spike, when next you speak to Grey Voice and Old Bird, or any of the elder spirits, tell them I do forgive them. I never blamed them for what they did. It is the fate I chose. And having you with me made it fun. Spike stared at the entry for a time, tears beading his eyes. He blinked them away, and gave a loud sniffle. "So, this Samus is, like, your mom now?" Pinkie asked curiously. Spike chuckled. "Yeah," Spike replied. "She raised me from the egg after I hatched aboard her ship." Seeing Twilight flinch slightly, he spread a wing over to hug her. "Of course, I know she's not the only one to have done so." Twilight smiled at that. "She wound up sterile after the Chozo combined their genetics with hers so she could survive on their world, didn't she?" Fluttershy asked. Spike's eyes went wide. "How'd you put that together?" he asked in shock, resulting in gasps of surprise from every pony else. Fluttershy lowered her eyes. "What they said about giving her life with their blood, that meant amplifying her with their nature for their environment. Crossbreeds rarely produce fertile offspring without magical intervention of one sort or another. I should know, I work with animals regularly after all. That poor Liger, he'll never be a papa." Spike nodded. "Yeah, that's basically it. Mom discovered that after her first physical upon her return to the Federation." Rarity let out a little whimper of sympathy. To never have children of her own. Sighing, Spike keyed up the next entry. Entry 01. I've made it to a ship, and am back in space. The egg old bird gave me is still intact. Whatever creature is inside must be sturdy. It handled the energy matter conversions of Speed Booster, Morph Ball, and Screw Attack without taking damage, and vital signs are still strong within the egg. Included with an entry was a picture of Spike's egg, purple with darker purple spots, resting on a white pillow in a straw basket. But when I asked about you when we first met, you said you hatched from a purple and green egg. Fluttershy pointed out to Spike. Spike shrugged. Maybe it was green last time round, he offered uncertainly. It wasn't, Twilight replied. It was exactly as it appears in this picture. Huh, Spike pondered. Wonder why I said green back then? What was that speed booster thing she was talking about? Rainbow asked eagerly. It's one of the many upgrades Mom's power suit can get, Spike replied. It allows her to accelerate on the ground to a high enough speed that her body shifts partially into an energy state, allowing her to plow through many obstacles. When the energy is stored, it also allows her to propel herself in any direction at high speeds in that half energy state in a technique called the Shine Spark. So, awesome, Rainbow said eagerly, causing several giggles around the table. Chuckling, Spike keyed up the next entry. Entry 02A. I've got my new ship now. Took a while to get it to match the specs of my original Chozo ship. Good thing the Chozo had the foresight to include the specs in my new power suit's data banks. Also today, the egg hatched. A video file was attached. Samus watched nervously as cracks spread over the egg. She was in her Zero suit at the moment, which was durable enough for most situations, but she was on guard, ready to shift into her power suit at a moment's notice if necessary. While the Chozo had said the egg was a gift, they'd also implied that time travel was involved, and she wasn't about to take chances, especially with how durable the creature had proven to be while still in the egg. The egg then cracked open, falling to pieces around its occupant. Samus saw before her a small purple reptile with large green eyes, rounded green spines down its spine, green frills at its cheek, a green underbelly, and a spade-tipped tail. It looked up at her, blinking its eyes for a time, then smiled. Grabbing its tail in its foreclaws, it pulled it between its hind legs and stuck the spade tip in its mouth, sucking on it like a pacifier. Samus stared at the creature for a time, but eventually couldn't suppress a goofy grin. It was just so cute. "Aw!" Five Mare said, cooing at the video. "I'd forgotten how adorable you were when you were that small." Twilight squealed. "So stinking cute," Pinky gasped out. "Look at those adorable little chubby cheeks!" Rarity cooed. Spike groaned, burying his face in his claws. He knew he had no one to blame but himself for playing that video file. What else could it have been?